The Sri Guru Granth Sahib opens with a marvelously beautiful verse. It's a verse most of us are familiar with. Ek Onkar, Satnam, Karta Purkh, Nirpao, Nirvair, Akal Murat, Ajuni, Saipang, Gur Prasad. This is an image of the first page of the Sri Guru Granth Sahib. You can see that the opening verse appears right at the top of the page. Throughout the Sri Guru Granth Sahib, this opening verse appears in 4 different forms. It appears 33 times in its full form at the beginning of the chapters and Sambanis. It appears 9 times as Ek Onkar, Satnam, Karta Purkh, Gur Prasad, twice as Ek Onkar, Satnam, Gur Prasad, and 524 times as Ek Onkar, Satgur Prasad. So that's a total of 568 times in 4 different forms across 1429 pages. Sikhs Pyareo have given this opening verse 2 labels. Mostly it is referred to as Moola Mantar, meaning the root mantar. Its other label is Mangalacharan. Now, a Mangalacharan is a prayer that is said at the beginning of a book, text, or a granth. If we examine books within the Indian spiritual traditions, we will find that they begin with a prayer by the author to the goddess of knowledge. But if we examine all the 568 instances where the opening verse appears, both in its full and complete form, as well as the shortened forms, Pyareo, nowhere in the vicinity of the opening verse is the word Mool found. Nowhere is the word Mantar found, and nowhere are the words Mool Mantar found either. Nowhere is the word Mangalacharan found. Now, both are man-made labels and both are clergy-created labels. Our gurus did not label the opening verse as such. Actually, Pyareo, both of these labels are problematic. Now, a mantar is meant for chanting. Such a label actually reduces the opening verse to a chant. A chant or a mantra, by definition, is a meaningless collection of words and syllables. Now, since every word in the opening verse has meaning, definite and precise meaning, Pyareo, it cannot be a chant and it cannot be a mantra. A Mangalacharan is a prayer meant for reciting. Labeling the opening verse such reduces it to a recited prayer. Now, if we look at the words within the opening verse one by one, and even collectively, we know immediately that it is not a prayer by any measure. A prayer needs to have a request, and the opening verse does not have a request within it. Guru Nanak, in the opening verse, is not asking for anything at all. Also, a Mangalacharan by definition is composed by the author of the text or the author of the Granth. Now, if we say that the opening verse is a Mangalacharan of the Sri Guru Granth Sahib, then we need to know that the author of the opening verse is not the author of Pothi Sahib, where it first appeared as an opening verse. The author of the opening verse is also not the author of the Guru Granth Sahib, where it appears as the opening verse now. The author of the opening verse is Guru Nanak. He could not have authored it as a Mangalacharan because he is not the author of the 2 texts, the Pothi Sahib and the Sri Guru Granth Sahib. Hence, it cannot be a Mangalacharan either. So our premise is that the opening verse is not meant for chanting. Our premise is also that it's not meant for reciting as a prayer either. Our premise is that it's meant for becoming. It's about becoming. In fact, this premise applies to the entirety of Gurbani. The opening verse is Gurbani, and all of Gurbani is for becoming. This is stated on page 304 of the Sri Guru Granth Sahib in this verse. Satgur ki Bani Sat Sarup hai, Gurbani bani hai. Gurbani is meant for becoming. We have to become Gurbani. We have to become the messages that are contained within the Shabda that is within Gurbani. We have to become the advice and the counsel that is Gurbani. We have to become the divinity that is Gurbani. It's all about becoming. So these then, Pyareo, are our two basic premises. First, we will not give it any man-made or clergy-concocted label. We will refer to it descriptively as the commencing verse or opening verse simply because the Sri Guru Granth Sahib opens with this verse. Second, every word in the opening verse has a meaning. Every word has a message, a spiritual message, and every word is for becoming. This is where it begins. Ek Oankar. It is Guru Nanak's graphic depiction to show the oneness of the Creator with the entirety of His creation. The one Creator is one with His entire creation. That's a divine virtue, a virtue of the Creator. Now the message for us, Sikhs and Seekers, pertaining to becoming is of becoming one within. Become one within our thoughts, within our speech and deeds. The oneness of what we think, what we say and what we do. It's also about becoming one with the Creator. It's further about oneness with creation, becoming one with His creation. And finally, it's about becoming one with humanity. I have done a separate video on understanding Ek Oankar in detail. Its location is provided in the link below. Pyareo, you may want to listen to that as well. The second word of the opening verse is Satnam. Sat comes from the Sanskrit word Satya, which means in existence. Now, the word Nam has two meanings when used in Gurbani. One, it refers to divine virtue, and two, it refers to Hukam. The meaning of Satnam then is that within His creation, He is in existence as the divine Hukam. So the message for us, Sikhs and Seekers, pertaining to becoming within Satnam is one of becoming divine, becoming virtuous, and one of becoming an existence within His Hukam. As Guru Nanak said in Jap Bani, Hukam rajain chalana Nanak likhya naal. The third verse of the opening verse is Karta Purkh. The meaning of the word is creator being. The message within Karta Purkh for me is to become the creator being of my own spiritual destiny. It means I make the choices and I make the decisions that will make me the creator being of my own spiritual journey and spiritual path. The next word, Pyareo, is Nirpau. Nirpau means fearless. The Creator has no fear from and nothing to fear. The message for us within Nirpau is about becoming fearless while pursuing my spiritual destiny. of traversing the spiritual journey with courage. And we have this beautiful verse on page 11 of the Sri Guru Granth Sahib ji. Jen nirpao, jen har nirpao, tyaya ji tinka pao sab gavasi. The omnipresent creator is fearless, har nirpao. Tyaya means to realize. So the meaning of the verse is realizing the fearless creator within is to become fearless. Pao sab gavasi means all fear dissipates. It means becoming fearless. Here is another verse from page 293. Nirpao japa sagal pao beta. Nirpao refers to the fearless creator. Japa means to realize. Sagal pao beta means to become fearless. So the meaning of the verse Nirpao japa sagal pao beta is to realize the fearless creator is to become fearless. Here is yet another verse. Pa kahu ko detna na pa manat an kaho nanak sun re mana gyani tahe bakhan. Gyani is the word used for someone who is spiritually enlightened. Pa kahu ko detna na pa manat an means one who subjects none to fear and is subjected to no fear at all. Spiritual enlightenment is being defined as becoming fearless. Hence, the message for us within Nirpao is about becoming fearless while pursuing my spiritual destiny, of traversing the spiritual journey with courage. Now, the next word of the opening verse, Pyareo, is Nirvair. The meaning of the word is enmity free. And the message for us within this word is to become free of enmity. As this verse on page 1299 of the Sri Guru Granth Sahib makes it absolutely and abundantly clear. Bisar gai sab tat parai, jab te saad sangat mohoi pai rahao, na ko bari nahi begana, sagal sanga hum ko banyai. Bisar gai sab tat parai means all enmities vanish. Sad sang refers to the company of the Guru. Na ko bari means no enmity left whatsoever. Nahi begana means none is a stranger even. And sagal sanga hamko banyai, I have become one with the entirety of humanity. Hence, Pyareo, the message for us within this word is to become free of enmity. The next word in the opening verse is Akal Murat, the meaning of which is timeless, formless, and spaceless. The message pertaining to becoming for me is for me to become timeless in my spiritual journey towards the formless. Timeless means permanent, continuous, and steady. It means my spirituality is not just an on-again, off-again phenomena. It is not a now you say it, now you don't kind of a relationship. It is not a fair weather relationship either. It is not a Sunday only affair. It is not just something I do in the Gurdwara. My spirituality is a permanent feature of my life. It is Akal Murat. The next word is Ajuni. The meaning of that is that the Creator does not take life forms and is free from the cycle of life forms. The message pertaining to becoming for me is for me to become Ajuni. But what does it mean to become Ajuni? So I become Ajuni when I am born into spirituality on a permanent basis. I become Ajuni when the cycles of spiritual deaths of my conscience terminate within my conscience. What do we mean by the cycles of spiritual deaths? Cycles, Pyareo, are called Avagaun in Punjabi. Literally, the coming and the going, the birth and death. Now, the concern with Gurbani is, of course, spiritual birth and spiritual death. Here is a Shabda on page 971 of the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji that explains it all so wonderfully. Govinda, hum aise aparadhi, जिन प्रभ जियो पिंड था दिया, तिसकी भाव भगत नहीं साधी रहाओ। पर तन परती निंदा, पर अपवाद न छूटै, आवा गवन होत है फुन फुन, ए प्रसंग ना टूटै। Govind, hum aise aparadhi. Now, the meaning of this verse is, this is the narrative of my misdeeds, aparad. What is my primary misdeed? Kabir says, Jin prabh jiyo, pind tha diya, tiski pao bhagat nahi sadhi rahao. My spiritual journey has not been travelled. My spiritual journey has not been conducted. Tiski pao bhagat nahi sadhi. Why? And the reason given is in the next verse. Partan, parti ninda, par apabad na chute. The reason is I cannot break out of these negative mental traits of mine. And these are all the causes of my spiritual death. Parti ninda, par apabad na chute. And what happens is, ava gavan hot hai fun e prasang na tute. I cannot break out of this cycle. So this cycle of spiritual deaths, ava gavan, occurs every split second, fun. And I never get to break out of the cycle, e prasanga na chute. So to break out of this avagaud pyareo is to become a juni. To break free from this cycle of spiritual deaths is to become a juni. To free one's self from this cycle of negative traits, Paratana, Parti, Ninda, Parapabad, to free ourselves from all these negative traits is to become a juni. The next word in the opening verse is Sapang. Sapang means self-created. The divine, the creator, is self-created. Now, the message pertaining to becoming for me within Sapang is towards becoming Sapang, towards becoming the self, to make my spirituality a spirituality of the self, by the self, for the self. This verse on page 134 of the Sri Guru Granth Sahib explains this principle. Jeha bija so luna karma sandara khet. Jeha bija so luna means reap as you sow. Khet literally means a field for sowing. Karma sandara khet is a metaphor to say that spirituality is based on actions. So the meaning of this verse is, I alone will reap all that I sow. My actions are the basis of my spirituality. And here is another verse on page 433. Dada dos na deu kissa, dos karma apanya. It means blame for my follies lies squarely and entirely within my own deeds and not on another. It continues, Jo main kiya, so main paya, dos na dije avrjana, so main paya, what I receive, what I reap. Jo main kiya, what I did. In other words, my actions. So the meaning of the verse is that what I receive is the result of what I myself sowed. No other can be blamed for it. This is a verse from Japbani. Ape bija, ape hi kha. The self reaps what the self sows. So the principle of becoming Sapang is summed up in this verse on page 474 of the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Apana hathing apana ape hi kaj savariya. This pyareo is the spirituality of Sapang defined. Spirituality of the self, for the self, by the self, on account of the self. Hence, the message pertaining towards becoming, pertaining to Sapang, is to make my spirituality a spirituality of the self, by the self, and for the self. The final word in the opening verse is Gur Prasad. Gur means the Guru. Our Guru is Shabda. So it refers to the messages. Prasad means grace. It means blessings. So Gur Prasad, when put together, would mean blessings of the Shabda Guru. And the Shabda Pyareo blesses us with enlightenment. The meaning of the word Gur Prasad is therefore that the Creator is realized through enlightenment of the Shabda Guru. And the message pertaining to becoming Gur Prasad for us all is to become enlightened. On page 67 of the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, our Guru has declared that Gurbani is actually indeed enlightenment. This is the verse, Gurbani is jag mein chanan karma vasai mane aaye. Jag mein chanan means enlightenment in my spiritual life, enlightenment in my spiritual world. So Padshahi is saying Gurbani is enlightenment and we have to become Gurbani, which means we have to become enlightenment. The verse pertaining to becoming is Satgur ki Bani, Sat Sarup hai, Gurbani Baniye. So Pyareo, this is the complete opening verse. Ek Oankar, Satnam, Karta Purkh, Nirpao, Nirvair, Akal Murat, Ajuni, Sahipang, Gur Prasad. The meaning of it in terms of divine virtues pertaining to the Creator is as follows. The one Creator who is in oneness with creation, Ek Oankar, who is in existence, Satnam, who is the Creator being, Karta Purkh, fearless and without enmity, Nirpao, Nirvair, timeless and formless, Akal Murat, does not take life forms, Ajuni, and who is self-created, Sahipang, and is realized through the enlightenment of the Shabda, Gur Prasad. Now, Pyareo, this is the meaning of the opening verse in terms of our becoming the divine virtues. A spirituality of oneness, Ek Oankar, in existence within his Hukam, Satnam. A spirituality when I am the Creator being of its destiny, Karta Purkh, conducted in fearlessness and without enmity, Nirpao, Nirvair. A spirituality of timelessness towards the formless, Akal Murat, and a spirituality of becoming Ajuni, a spirituality of the self, for the self, by the self, Sahipang, a spirituality of self-accountability and self-responsibility, Sahipang, a spirituality of becoming enlightened through the messages of the Shabda, Gur Prasad. Sikhi Gurmukh Pyareo is about becoming. Gurbani Gurmukh Pyareo is all about becoming. Every word of the opening verse, indeed, every word within Gurbani is meant for becoming. The opening verse is about the Creator being defined in terms of divine virtues. The opening verse is about divinity being expressed in divine virtues. In practical spirituality terms, however, the opening verse is about becoming these divine virtues. It is about becoming divine.